shows in their area. I have people in the Pacific Northwest that kind of wish they had, shows and whatnot. So you have people that are like trying to gather up and maybe do something about getting shows in their area or throw their own shows. So what did you do with Bob? Like, how did you guys sit down and fucking come up with the, with a plan to successfully throw a show?
We both being in the industry. I was in the industry at that point for would have put me about 6 years in roughly. And I'd been to Orlando, I'd been to Daytona, a lot of shows, you know what I mean? Both good and bad. And no matter what it is, I guess you take the good and the bad from everything you see. And you're like, all right, I would take that. I would take that. I would take that. And I would get rid of that, and that. And
right.
You come up with this formula of like fixing the things you don't like and making the things you do like even better. And you try to do it at least best you can. And That's what we did with Tinley was just, we tried to elevate the experience of a reptile show from a VFW hall with wood tables and no displays and no pipe and drape, and make it what you see now, because the first show was the same as it is now as far as the way it looks.
Right. Okay.
It was all about elevating it, making it something that if a mom came there because her kid, dragged her there, that her experience would be positive on the industry, on the show, the whole thing. And her mind would be changed when she left about what reptile people are and what a reptile show is, the whole thing.
She should be excited to bring them back, basically.
Yeah, like she would say, like, "Hey, this isn't what I thought,"
Right, and that happens still to this day. Like, I just brought my wife to your first NARBC to you met her. I just brought her to Tinley, and she was like, "Holy shit, I was not expecting this." And dude, we had the time of our lives. And that was my first Tinley too. And dude, that was just kudos to that, bro. Honestly, that was the show of the year. I'll tell you that right now. That was such a fun time, man. I can tell you that.
There's something special there in Tinley that we've never recreated anywhere else, and I don't know if it's possible, and I don't know why. I can't tell you what it is. There's no secret sauce. It's just like, how like certain things, like whether it's a fishing trip, a hunting trip, whatever it may be, where everything comes together and it's just perfect. It just Tinley seems to always feel that way.
I felt it for sure, and I've been, I went to Arlington. I've gone a lot of NARBCs. I've gone to a lot of reptile super shows. I felt crazy things at reptile super shows, but nothing like a fucking Tinley. Like
there's just something there, man. And it ain't me. It ain't Bob. It's everyone together. It's the whole recipe. It's not any one of the ingredients,
Now, I can tell you right now, man, if it's one thing I'm starting to notice people really want when they first come into this industry, because you got to understand, Brian, dude, there's a new brand every fucking day. There's somebody new popping up, right?
Oh, my God.
Right? And, some people have a lot of amazing shit, but they're just not noticed, and that kind of frustrates them. Don't you think by putting yourself out there at these shows kind of helps you speed up on getting noticed and whatnot? Like, would you
like from a breeder's perspective or a...
Breeders, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, oh, my God, yeah. Like, where else can you set your shit up, look people in the eye, shake their hand, talk to them, and meet that many people for that? A lot of people are like, oh, man, the show's expensive. Like, go back to Reptiles magazine days. Like, you buy a fucking Reptiles magazine ad for whatever it was going to cost you. The magazine goes out. People just look at print, and they decide if they like you or not, right? I mean, like, at a show... it's up to you. You can sell yourself, your animals, your quality, what you're about, show what you're all about. It's like, look at Kabilka, right? I always go to Kabilka because I think there's probably nobody that's as good of the business side of what he does. And I'm not taking anything away from what he does with animals. I'm just saying, as a business.
Please, Brian, please call him Canova, please. It's Canova.
Yeah, that's right. It's NARBOVA now too.
NARB Nova.
No, I love Justin. I mean, I use him as an example a lot, and I'm not trying to jerk him off. It's just that I really think he does a kick-ass job.
He does.
The business side of things, man. Like it makes me want to do better about a lot of things. I see him and I'm like, fuck, man, he's like making me look like a dirtball.
Well, I mean, because if it's one thing this guy has a niche for, it's the marketing. Like, he knows how to fucking market himself, and he doesn't get complacent. Like, if it's one thing that a lot of these ball python or any kind of breeder does, they'll get so good at something, and then they'll just be like, well, I'm good right where I'm at. Not Justin. Justin's like constantly just trying to figure shit out to like elevate things to like, it's like technology almost, bro. It's like, what the fuck?
No,
like,
it's cool to watch. I love unfortunately, this last show, I literally stepped foot on the show floor one time, maybe two, and it was really to run to my booth to price something for somebody, or somebody was looking for like more than a couple of animals, whatever. And so my guys will call me and say, hey, guy wants a deal, come over here. But other than that, I was so busy, I didn't see shit. I literally did not see a thing, which is a good thing, but I didn't get to see anything. And what I do love is cruising around the show and watching guys that are elevating their booth game, like where they're like making the booth like an experience like this. It's just awesome to see it.
Yeah, like the Bob Voos and shit, man. Like I can tell you right now, you have distinct tables. I mean, a lot of tables, don't get me wrong, are awesome, but you have these people who literally go out of their way to build these fucking goddamn signs behind their booths to where it's like, it's so attracting. You're just like, and I feel like, you know, a lot of the people set these examples to where like, there's not just Bob Voo who does that now. There's a lot of people who have that sick ass setup that, you know, I'm sure that you, like you say, you love seeing elevated, like, you know, for you to see this, you know, these shows evolve to where people are going that far to display themselves. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, like I think it's Garrett Hartle, right? That has like the sick.
Yeah, the rustic wood, all the fucking. It's like a coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly, like a coffee shop. And then somebody else has like phone charging station in their booth, and I can't remember who that was. A couple years ago, I saw.
Dude, there was a guy. Okay, there was somebody at Arlington. Was it Arlington? I forget. Oh man, I don't know where it was, but there was literally a lounge section in the middle of their fucking display. Like, I don't know if there was a charging station, but you could just sit down and just kind of post up and like, you know, then there's people right there to educate you on anything. And I feel like that's the takeaway right there. That's I don't know.
Right,
you
so
don't really
I gotta segue into something real quick because you mentioned that. So what we're gonna do for our Schaumburg show? Did you go to Schaumburg or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so that place, we have a lot of room, right? And
it's
so
a beautiful hotel, by the way. I love the hotel there. Is gorgeous.
Bro, I'm walking around. I was like, are you fucking sure you guys want us here?
Yeah, it's next level. I was like, dude, this is baller.
Well, the best part is the chick stuck her foot in her mouth a little bit, but it didn't matter because it wasn't like it rubbed me wrong. But I thought, boy, somebody could really be offended. I go, how's everything going? Everything cool? And she looks at me and she goes, yeah, we've had lots of weird people here before. She's like, it's no big deal. You guys are good. And I was like, I looked at her and I think she then figured out what she said, you know? And I was like, no offense taken. I go, but I just thought maybe sometimes we're a bit much for people, you know?
Right.
And she's like, no, it's all good. Like they didn't sweat anything that went on the whole weekend, which was incredible. But what I want to say about that show is what we're going to do is because of all the social media stuff going on, influencers, everybody doing their thing, we're going to put in like a influencer cafe.
Okay.
And so there'll be couches, area for everybody to chill in, audiences to kind of watch. And then what we're going to do is, and now it's not all dialed in, this is sort of off the top of my head, but we're going to put in like an area for influencers to do interviews, and they can do it by time. So they're not competing with each other. They can lock down times. So I think it could be really cool.
Dang, I have an idea for for something during the US ARC auctions, but I'm gonna bring that up towards the end, okay? Because it's a heavy idea. Okay, Brian, I want to take this back real quick to you and Bob after your first show. So, how soon did you and Bob sit down and plan the next show? Like, what was the game plan after that? And then, like, what was the actual success after the first show? Did you guys do good? Did you take a hit? Like, what was that like?
We took a hit. Oh, we took a hit because we went crazy on spending. Because one thing I'm going to tell everybody is don't believe the numbers of any reptile show. And it's not normally, it's not the promoters that give their numbers. It's somebody like around them gives like these inflated, insane numbers of how many people were through the door. And so we based our numbers off these inflated fake numbers, thinking we're going to have, we thought we were going to have 20,000. And let me tell you, there's been no show that's had half of that ever.
Really?
So anyway, we have our first show. Whoa. And it's like underwhelming compared to what it was in our heads. You know what I mean? But it went over well. It was a well-received show by the pipe and the drape, the carpeted floors, the facility, everything that we did as far as advertising. The gate was decent. It was a first-time show. No first-time shows are really that good. This is pre-ball python money, so nobody's flying around the room spending 20 G's. That wasn't the days for that, What
was the primarily like vendors selling back then? Like, what were the tables like?
There was ball pythons, but you have to remember, go back to, and I don't even remember anymore, man. It's 2000. It's 2000. I'm sorry. First show was 2001. And so, you had Peter Call there with albino boas and all that stuff. And, I think blackheads were around a lot more. Womas were a lot more around, like Dick Gergen was around, guys like that. It was just a different time. And the money was not, the ball python thing has carried the industry. And I don't know, I don't know exactly what year it really started carrying it, but it's carried it ever since.
I was going to ask you because I have plenty of people who talk about spending fucking 20,000 on pastels and shit in like early 2000s, right? So like at what point, I mean, I know you can't really recall, but do you remember like the show where you walked in and you're like, fuck, these goddamn ball python people are making money? Like, and I feel like it was like within the last 5 years almost.
It's funny you say that because I don't have like these specific, man, I'm 50 now, I'll be 51 in December. So remembering shit is not my forte anymore. Like you look back and it just seems like ball pythons were there forever. But in this conversation, like I said, that and it was almost news to me a minute ago when I said it, but ball pythons weren't carrying it like they are. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it is. It was more of a mixed bag, I think, of stuff. Colubrids, I think colubrid prices were way down at that point, and nothing like they are today, obviously. And
you still had you still had bearded dragons and shit back then, like in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah. All that stuff was around, but it's. I mean, it's funny. I'll be on like social media and I'll see somebody like, oh yeah, it's a fucking ball python show, and I'm like, do you not understand like what people spend money on? All of a sudden at the shows, that's what's available. It's like. It's how the market works on everything. It's like they don't get it. Now,
thank you for watching this week's Trap Talk clip. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, drop me a comment. And if you're looking for exclusive, non-release content here on YouTube, you're going to want to go down to the link and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. Once you become a part of the Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord, and then you also get tapped into all unreleased content. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and I'll catch you guys here next week. Cheers!